In June 1985, wife and mother Carole Packman mysteriously disappeared and has never been seen since. Her husband, Russell, is now serving a life sentence for her murder, yet no body has ever been found.
A man was found guilty today of murdering his wife, who's not been seen, alive or dead, for 11 years.
During the case, he pleaded his innocence and refused to talk.
You killed this man. No, I fell.
Their only child, Sam, was just 16 when her mother vanished.
I'm really angry that you can't just say, OK then, this is what happened.
I'm Mark Williams-Thomas, and Sam has turned to me for help because her father refuses to communicate with her. Is he really a cold-blooded murderer, or could Carole Packman still be alive?
I still have a question mark in my mind. Did she get away?
I've already started to make breakthroughs. Russell may have refused to talk to his daughter Sam, but he started a dialogue with me. What secrets might he still be holding on to? And could someone other than Russell hold vital clues to this mystery?
So these them?
Yeah.
The more I find out, the stranger this case gets.
How long has the person been in the water?
We're not sure.
So, what really did happen to Carole Packman? I'm investigating the case of Carole Packman. Russell Causley is one of the few people in the country to be convicted of murder in the absence of a body. His missing wife, Carole, has never been found. So what have I uncovered so far?
6 months after Carole disappeared, somebody goes into a police station claiming to be Carole and saying they're fine, they're getting on with their life. And why that's important is because either it was Carole or someone who's gone into the police station impersonating Carole. But why? Why would they go into the police station impersonating her?
So Carole's supposed reappearance led to the police missing person file on her being closed. I now know that she'd approached a solicitor about divorcing her husband Russell, but I find it strange that she would have decided to sever all ties with her old life after 20 years. So who is this woman whose disappearance raised so few questions?
She always had this amazing way of being able to do her hair with mirrors and be able to section everything off and put rollers in perfect rows, etc. And makeup, clean teeth, before you get out of the car, high heels on.
She was a very competent person. She'd learnt to do this job that Russell had been doing. She'd picked that up very quickly. Very nice looking woman, well dressed.
Rolex watches and, a lot of jewellery. She didn't buy clothes from normal places, unique pieces. I don't think that she complained with regards to the nicer things that were provided.
Carole seemed to have a very comfortable middle-class life in Bournemouth. But behind closed doors, I found her world was becoming unbearable. After her husband, Russell, moved his mistress, Patricia Causley, into the family home. Patricia says at the time the couple's marriage was already breaking down.
Good, yeah.
But there is no doubt it was an unusual setup.
There was almost this politeness of it being perfectly normal as to what was going on. You know, Patricia used to walk around our home topless, flaunting all. My mother, by then, was desperately trying to save her marriage. We actually had Patricia completely overtaking what my mother had.
It was an awkward time which didn't go unnoticed by friends and neighbours.
Kim's my wife, Kim and I, we went over to Russell's place. I was a bit uncomfortable because it was Patricia who was like a hostess. And after some mingling about and socializing, I asked him, I said, you know, how is Carole? He said she's not keeping too well. Later on, as we were moving around, I saw Carole in one room.
And how did Carole look when you saw her?
She had a frightened look in her face. I think I did raise my hand to say hello, but no, she just moved away from there, and then we didn't see her after that.
June the 14th, 1985, was the last time Carole was ever seen. She appeared to have left a note saying goodbye, and Russell told anyone who asked that Carole had run off abroad to Italy, to France, and to Canada. But what really intrigued me are reports that in the summer of 1986, a year after her disappearance, someone called Carole Packman was working in Canada, and Russell was there with her.
Carole and Russell had previously worked in Canada, working in the air industry. So I'm going over to Canada to speak to people that both Carole and Russell worked with.
So whenever I do any investigation, I think the key element is to go back to information that we know and validate it, check out with individuals if that's still their memory, and try and get more information from them.
One of the key people here in Montreal is Tony Stocks. He was part of a big British expat community, working in the Canadian aerospace industry in the 70s and 80s. And he knew both Russell and Carole before her disappearance in 1985. And crucially, he met with Russell afterwards.
Carole's reported missing in 1985, and we know that Russell came back to Montreal a year later. Did you hear of him then?
He turned up in my office out of the blue one day. And said, "Hello, Tony, how are you? I'm looking for a job." I said I wasn't interested in giving him a job. I did ask him at that time what had happened to Carole. He said, "Oh, she's off working in Italy somewhere." And I half-jokingly said, "Oh, we thought perhaps you'd done away with her." And he said, "Oh, that would have been a good idea."
And did you discuss that with anybody?
A number of us speculated that something had gone very seriously wrong with Carole. Fred Rothwell and Roz stayed friends with Russell right up to the end. I think he took him to the airport the day he left. Fred kept diaries, so he's got very, very clear dates on when things happened.
I brought 3 with me.
Fred's diaries are very detailed, an invaluable record of events 30 years ago.
Just got a phone call out of the blue. The voice said, "Do you know who this is?" And I said, "I'm not sure." And it says it's Russ Packman. Then he said he was back here and he had a girlfriend with him and asked if he could come over to see us.
He comes over and I asked him, "Where's Carole?" He said, "Oh, Carole and I are no longer together." "Oh, okay." And I said, "So where is she?" And he said, "Oh, I think she's out working in Germany or Italy, somewhere like that."
So a year after Carole's disappearance, Russell is back in Canada. It was as if nothing had changed apart from the new woman in his life.
So he comes back, asks you for a job. Was he on his own?
I thought he was at the time. I later found out he had his girlfriend with him.
And his girlfriend being?
Patricia Causley.
So does he start working back in the aerospace industry again?
Yes, he got a job somewhere in Canada at that time. And I understand that Patricia also got a job where Carole had worked in the past.
So Patricia starts working where Carole was known?
Yes, but she worked there as Carole.
She worked as Carole?
She got a job under the name of Carole Packman.
So Patricia, Russell's mistress, was working under his wife's name a year after she disappeared. And this after Russell had told friends it was Carole who had gone to Canada. Why would Patricia do this? Fred's diaries offer some clues.
So what have we got?
February 24, and put Ros into Ottawa with Trish.
Well, that's good. So Tuesday, the 24th of February 1987, that's the date you go to
Ottawa.
That's
yeah.
good.
And she went into this building for some reason. She didn't want me to go in with her. I think I must have said to go, okay. And she said, oh yeah, and we drove back home. But I believe it was something to do with Carole.
Okay.
Or something to do with some work permit or
We
something.
thought it was related to a work visa or work permit, yes.
For Carole. Not for herself, but I think for Carole.
Getting a work permit for Carole.
Or in Carole's
In
name.
Carole's
because
name,
of
I
Carole.
should say, yeah.
It would be easy for Patricia to impersonate Carole after she had obtained a work permit in her name. But why take such a huge risk to do this? Was Russell using his mistress Patricia to lay a paper trail of his wife Carole still being alive? I need to investigate how Patricia carried out this fraud. Mike Thompson worked with Russell and Patricia at Canadair, a Canadian aircraft manufacturer.
He was a designer in the same office I was in.
And was he there alone?
When I first moved into the office, there was another young lady in there that I hadn't seen before, and office gossip, as it was, said that she was with Russ.
And how long did she work there for?
Oh, not long, maybe 2 months. One day, policemen, well, I thought they were policemen, then I saw they were immigration, they had immigration badges on them. They asked the young lady if she could go with them.
Riette LeBlanc was a constable in the Canadian Mounted Police who was across the case.
So Patricia was pretending to be Carole, but she got caught out because somebody says, hey, Patricia, you're not Carole.
Exactly. Patricia Causley admitted that she wasn't Carole Packman, and she was then asked to leave the country within 30 days, which she did.
So presumably that would be a criminal offence.
Yes, it is a criminal offence. But Immigration Canada decided not to advise the police and just asked her to leave the country voluntarily instead of being deported.
Immigration Canada did not notify the British authorities.
So Carole's disappeared. Russell returns here with Patricia in 1986, and Patricia takes on the identity of Carole, which is astonishing. And of course, that now raises some very, very serious questions for Patricia, and none more so than what was Russell telling her, and what was her own suspicions about where Carole had gone.
As a result of my trip to Canada, I've been able to confirm for myself that Patricia Causley was using Carole Packman's identity after she went missing.
Because Patricia was there during all of this, is it feasible that she knew nothing what was going on? Bearing in mind, we know how close they were like that.
And she was taking a lot of risks going to Canada, pretending to be Carole if she didn't know anything.
Absolutely, huge risks.
I accept some people do impersonate others without knowing or caring if the person is alive or dead. I'm starting to understand the power and control Russell had over everyone close to him. Could it be that Patricia, his mistress, was just another one of his victims and that he coerced her into impersonating his wife Carole? It's definitely time for me to talk to her.
So I've got Patricia's letter here.
This is the one you're sending to her?
Yeah, I just want her to give me what happened immediately before the disappearance of Carole and afterwards. It's inconceivable that there is no conversation that takes place between Russell and her about Carole.
You move in with someone who's married, you have to wonder where his wife has gone. She must have asked him some questions, mustn't she?
Let's see.
By 1990, Russell and his mistress, Patricia, were openly living as a couple, and he even adopted her surname and became known as Russell Causley. Life without Carole seemed to be going well. He'd replaced his wife with a younger girlfriend and living an extravagant lifestyle. Appearances seemed to be important for Russell. He was a man driven by the need to be successful and to show it.
Me, I am. Look what I've got. Look where I live. Look at my house, look at my cars. Be careful with that glass. It's Stuart crystal. It's very expensive, you know. Money was very important. To try and make himself feel more important than other people.
He was very social, interested in a lot of the arts and food, etc., and wine. Pleasant company.
He would always be wearing smart shoes, and if he had a Rolex watch, I'm sure it was sort of well above the cuff. He was definitely materially interested. He never told me how much he earned, but he indicated that he earned a lot of money.
Anthony Hackett-Jones was Russell's solicitor and a close personal friend who knew both his wife Carole and his mistress Patricia. Russell liked to try and impress his lawyer, treating him to expensive meals and even a holiday. So in 1993, when Anthony Hackett-Jones was asked to organise a sailing trip for Russell and his new partner Patricia, he was happy to help.
They knew that I sailed, and they were living in Bournemouth near the water, and they wanted to sail themselves. And would I like to go out sailing with them for a little trip across to France? So a definite yes, because I would always go sailing if I got the chance.
Hackett-Jones hired a 40-foot yacht for the journey, but he needed more than just Russell and Patricia to help sail the boat across the channel.
So they told me they'd found someone, and that was fine. We'd be four. When I met her, she was a young woman who hated sailing and didn't really want to go at all, but she'd been bullied into it.
The reluctant fourth sailor on the boat trip was Patricia's friend, Christine Dwyer. For all four people on board the yacht, what happened next would have a dramatic impact on their lives. It would also prove to be crucial in unravelling the mystery of Russell's wife Carole's disappearance.
Hackett-Jones in 1985 was a real confidant of Russell's. He is the first person that provides a real insight, I think, into Russell's behaviour. You've never spoken to anybody with regards to what's taken place. Why are you talking to me now?
Sam and Neil, Russell's daughter and grandson, are still very unhappy not knowing the truth of what happened to Carole. And I said, I'll come and tell what I know.
So the plan was to leave Hamble in Southampton and sail to France.
It was pretty obvious that we were going to get to Guernsey at dawn time. I was a bit exhausted, so came in here to St. Peter Port, moored up. We'd decided that we would stay moored up in the inner harbour until the morning.
Right.
But Russell started an objection and said, I'm taking the boat out. I said, no, that is ridiculous. We're now in the Channel Islands and there are huge tides. And he was kind of insistent, and I was more insistent, and I said absolutely no. So at that, as far as I remember, we all turned in. Well, I did, and I assumed everyone else did.
And then what happens?
Patricia banged on the door and said, Russell says we're sailing. I was very unhappy about that. And I wanted to say, you turn around and go back. But obviously I was going to have an argument and possibly a fight with him. He was quite aggressive when he wanted to be.
And how far out would you say you'd got at that point?
No idea.
But you were away from the harbour?
Yeah. I was a bit resigned to it, and I think we talked about the course to set, which would be safe for an hour or 3.
And you left them to it?
Yeah.
Right. And then went back to sleep?
But then, according to Hackett-Jones, things took a turn for the worse. I've taken him out to sea to try and take him back to that life-changing moment.
What's the next thing that happens?
I came to, and Patricia was having a bit of a hysterical fit. She'd lost Russell. Where was he? And had he gone over the side? She was screaming, so I put something on and came up. Her story was that he'd been up here and she'd been down below. And then she popped her head up, see how he was getting on, and he wasn't there. And you kind of think 1,000 things, and you think, logically, if that is the case, what do I do? I was just a bit crippled with uselessness, petrified, hanging over the side. Shaking, I believe. Legs wouldn't work. So we put out a Mayday signal.
It was Patricia who made the call.
We can't find him anywhere. Help! How long has the person been in the water? How long? We're not sure, but we think half an hour, maybe an hour. We don't know. Yes, understood. What is your present position? North 4922, west 2.45. The lifeboat has been launched. It will be coming round to you shortly.
So lifeboat turns up, then what happens?
I just remember the incredible relief of suddenly thinking, it's not my responsibility anymore. And then the next bit was obviously losing Russell. You're going to be upset if you lose a friend, and Russell was a friend. I mean, we didn't know he was dead, but chances were that he was.
An extensive search by the Coast Guard proved fruitless. It was recorded that Russell was lost at sea and presumed dead. Shocking news for the daughter, already struggling with the loss of her mother.
I know that I just sounded like a wounded animal. I was in a really, really bad way. I really was.
So you are aware that Patricia's on the boat and you want to talk to her. Yeah. How does that go?
The phone rang. I've got Patricia really crying. I've lost my husband. And I said, he's not your husband. He's still married to my mother. Patricia's response? Oh, fuck off, Sam. I've got my own grief to deal with. End of conversation. That was it.
And I assume you come away from that phone call, albeit angry, with a clear view that she thinks that Russell is dead. That's what she's telling you.
Yeah.
So, 8 years after her mother had gone missing, never to be seen again, Sam was now led to believe she'd also lost her father. Left to grieve alone, events were about to take a further dramatic twist.
So Russell calls the man overboard. Major air sea rescue. The following morning, Sergeant Faller from the local Guernsey police becomes involved just to investigate it.
Russell Causley had been reported going overboard in the early hours of the morning. I knew that with the weather conditions as they were, that if Russell Causley had gone overboard, there was very little chance of finding him.
So your immediate reaction was, this could be real and it needs thoroughly investigating. At that point, you were not suspicious?
At that point, no. There was nothing to make me suspicious.
So talk me through. You arrive at the hospital. What do you see?
I wanted to see Patricia Causley because it was reported that she was the wife of Russell Causley.
Give me a sense of what your first impressions of her were.
Her behaviour was inconsistent. One moment she was crying hysterically. And then when I asked her details for the purposes of the statement, she'd become very focused. And my experience of dealing with people in those situations in the past is that it's difficult to get them out of that hysterical stage. Certainly they wouldn't move between one and the other.
This set off alarm bells for Sergeant Faller. Something didn't ring true. He suspected Patricia was lying. But what was she hiding?
And tell me what contact you had with the other people that were on the boat.
I actually took a statement from Hackett Jones. He said he was woken by an hysterical Patricia.
What was Miss Dwyer telling you about her involvement on the boat?
She said that she started to feel ill as they rounded the south coast of Guernsey, so she went to sleep, and the next thing she knows, Russell Causley was nowhere to be seen.
So you've spoken to them at the hospital, you see them at the hotel. Where do they go then?
They got into a taxi that was waiting just down the road from the hotel, and they went to the airport to catch this flight back. I think they were flying back to Southampton.
What was your reaction to that?
Bizarre. I thought it was bizarre. I mean, I said to Hackett Jones as he came out of the hotel, "Where are you going?" He told me. And I said, "Well, don't you want me to give you an update as to what's happening?" "No, I'll phone you." And off they went in the taxi, off up to the airport. Well, at that point, I wasn't absolutely sure in my own mind what had happened. One scenario would have been that perhaps Russell was pushed overboard for whatever reason.
And what's the next thing you do?
I put the insurance companies on notice that any claims to come in his name to notify me. And I think within 4 or 5 days, a claim had gone in on Russell's life for a substantial amount of money.
Do you remember how much that was?
From memory, it was somewhere in the region of 800,000, something like that. Obviously, I was trying to investigate the aspect of a potential fraud. The insurance company instruct John Saunders to take on the insurance investigation side of things.
Hello, John.
But John and I worked closely together on it.
Russell Causley had proposed for a rather large insurance policy to cover a very large mortgage on a property in the West End. So therefore he was insured from the moment he went sailing on that yacht.
You obviously looked into Russell's background. What did you find?
There was no sign of any wealth, certainly no sign that he'd had anywhere near the income to move to this wonderful house in the West End. I was in constant touch with Phil Faller, and eventually he came over to the UK and accompanied me when we interviewed Patricia Causley. The interview was very low-key. She was very confident. But as soon as we talked about the yacht, who was on board, and the insurance policy, she became distraught. Tears. She was a drama queen, she was an actress.
What do you know now about what Russell did from the point that that boat left Guernsey sailing to France?
What I managed to find out through inquiries here was that somebody under the name of Mr. Russell, at 9 o'clock on the evening that the vessel left Guernsey to go towards France, had booked a one-way ticket and paid by cash to go on the Condor ferry from Guernsey to Weymouth. So I was pretty convinced that that was Russell Causley.
Just focusing in terms of Patricia and Hackett Jones, do you think they all knew what was going on?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Have you got Hackett Jones's statement?
I have got a Hackett Jones statement.
Oh, brilliant. He's categoric in here that they left about 21:40 on the Wednesday night, setting sail for the northwest corner of France,
and at that time, 4 people were on the boat, which is him, Miss Dwyer, Russell, and Patricia. So if he is telling me that he was asleep and that he didn't set sail, that's not what he says in his statement.
Precisely, yeah. I mean, I just find it incredible that he's coming up with the story now.
Well, there's some interesting questions he's got to answer now. I need to confront Anthony Hackett-Jones about the account he gave me. He told Sergeant Fowler he sailed the yacht out to sea, but he told me that Russell was at the wheel. If Hackett-Jones sailed out, he must have known that Russell wasn't on board. So these are the notes. I mean, would you say, first of all, is that your handwriting?
Yes, looks like it.
And let me read you an extract from your statement. All 4 of us set sail from St. Peter's Port about 21:40 hours on the Wednesday evening. I considered the sea state to be perfect for yachting. About 2300 hours, I retired to the cabin in the bow. I fell asleep almost immediately. I left Russell and Patricia on watch. Sometime during the early hours, I was woken by one of the 2 ladies who was extremely agitated. The problem is that is entirely inconsistent with the account you've given me in terms of leaving the harbour.
Yeah.
Why?
False memories.
Well, that's your account,
yeah,
isn't it? I mean, that's your account made the following day.
Yeah, I'm amazed because I've been 20 years thinking completely different series of events.
I can't believe that you wouldn't have known you sailed the boat out of the harbour.
It's been blanked from my brain because I have no recollection of it.
And the other thing, in this harbour here, there is a ferry, and that evening, a man called Mr. Russell bought a ticket at 20:21. He then boarded that ferry at 20:32. So by the time you left the harbour at 21:40, saying there were 4 people on board, there couldn't have been.
Russell wasn't there.
Russell wasn't there. Did you know what was going on?
I've lived with believing that I didn't know for so long that I have just no recollection of it. But that really looks as if I had to know. I can see that.
Was this discussed between all of you before you set sail?
No, we were going to France.
Well, Russell wasn't on board.
No.
I think that you knew exactly what was going on. I think this was a conspiracy that you came up with them.
I've no answer to it, but let me think about it.
He gave me an account that he was here and he had nothing to do with the sailing out to sea. Indeed, he woke up in the middle of the sea when Patricia was in panic. But the evidence shows us that he set sail, that he was in charge of that boat as it set sail to sea. Well, I then challenged him and said, well, there weren't 4 people on board. Because Russ had already bought a ticket and was on board a boat and was setting sail. But you said there was 4 people. He fell apart.
We've shown that he conspired that night with them and he's lied. And so you're now suspicious of Patricia?
Yes.
How do you take that further?
Phil Fuller and I discussed it, and we were both totally convinced that it was a scam, that he had not gone overboard, he was not on the yacht. We arranged for surveillance.
As their suspicions grew, investigators started following Patricia, hoping to find clues about what had really happened. But it was many miles away from her home, in the seaside town of Brighton, where they needed to look. I'm off to meet former Brighton guesthouse landlord, Nikos Olympios, to ask him about one of his former tenants.
Let me take you back to October '93. What do you know about this individual?
This gentleman, he said he was a writer, and his name was James Ellison. A lot of the evenings he'd come down to our private quarters, and we sit, have a drink, have a chat.
And how did he pay?
Cash.
Cash. I want to show you 3 photographs. Do you recognise him?
That's James.
So that is Russell Causley.
This gentleman came with another friend and a lady.
Can you tell me who that is?
What's her name?
Patricia Causley.
Right, yes. Very pleasant lady.
And do you recognise that man?
That's him. That's him.
So that is Anthony Hackett-Jones, who was their solicitor. So that is the man you saw with them?
Yes, that's the 3 that came and booked the accommodation.
So you did some surveillance on it. Did that turn anything up?
Well, at that stage, we reported the matter to the police. They looked at it, and I know that eventually they drove down to that part of the world and happened to, I think, see her, and she went to a pub and met Russell Causley.
Patricia knew all along that Russell had not fallen overboard. The pair had attempted to commit a massive fraud, with little regard to the impact it would have on others.
When do you find out that actually your dad's not dead?
Phone call from Phil Fuller to say we've got him in custody. Just
your feelings, your reaction?
I want to speak to him.
You wanted to speak to Dad?
Yeah.
Do you get to speak to him?
No, never.
What did you want to say?
Why? It's not right to do that to a human being for your own gain. When you know what you're actually aiming for, money, and yet you will quite willingly, mentally sacrifice somebody to have to go through that emotion.
Russell pleaded guilty when he was prosecuted for attempting to defraud insurance companies and was sentenced to 2 years in prison, while Patricia was given a 12-month suspended sentence after pleading guilty to her part in the conspiracy. She said she was foolish and regretted her dishonesty.
You were against the scheme from the start, then?
Yes.
So how did you get sucked into it?
I love him.
Anthony Hackett-Jones pleaded not guilty. Despite being convicted and jailed for 3 years, he refused to accept his guilt.
I mean, you still maintain your innocence? And that Mr. Causley duped you? Until death.
While he continues to deny meeting Russell Causley in Brighton, and he says he doesn't recall meeting with Sergeant Fowler at the hotel, he has since admitted to me that he did have contact with Russell after his fake death, and he now admits for the first time he accepts his guilt. No action was taken against the 4th person on the boat, Christine Dwyer. Faking his own death for insurance money was an act of greed that backfired spectacularly on Russell. Now a criminal, the police started scrutinising every aspect of his life. They discovered that he was married, but his wife Carole had disappeared in 1985. 8 years after she had gone missing, the police wanted to know where she was.
For me, it seemed odd that a mother would not make contact with her own daughter in that period of time. And I'm starting to look more into where Carole Packman was.
And what did you find out?
As the months went on, I was more and more convinced that she no longer existed.
Eight years after Carole Packman's sudden disappearance, Sergeant Phil Faller was beginning to suspect foul play. He interviewed Patricia Causley in the presence of her solicitor to see what she knew about the disappearance of Carole.
I asked her about where I might find Carole, and she told me various places that she believed that she'd worked in. All of those places I'd already made inquiries and shown that she no longer was living there. I said to Patricia directly, I put the question to her, tell me where I will find Carole at this moment in time. She looked me straight in the eye and said, to be honest with you, Sergeant Faller, I don't think you will ever find Carole. Basically, I was stunned at that point because she said it so sincerely.
So she tells you that. What are you thinking now?
I'm thinking that Carole was murdered.
It's going to be a challenge for me to get to the truth about what really happened to Russell's wife Carole after 30 years. However, I finally received a response to the letter I sent to Patricia.
Well, here we go. So here's a solicitor's letter. Dear Mr. Williams Thomas, we are writing to let you know that our client places a high value of maintaining her privacy and does not wish to participate in filming. She has already disclosed everything she knows about Mrs. Packman's disappearance to police and has nothing more that she can add that would assist you in shedding more light on what happened to Mrs. Packman.
It's going to take tactful negotiations to get Patricia to engage with me. After speaking to her solicitor on the phone, I send her another letter with a list of questions. Patricia later responded to the questions, saying Carole's disappearance did not surprise her, as Carole had already told her she wanted to leave. Patricia has admitted using Carole's work permit in Canada, though she denies using her identity. She also says it was not her who went into the police station, and she doesn't believe she swore at Sam on the phone. In Guernsey, Sergeant Faller was now convinced Carole was dead. The investigation was picked up by Dorset Police's DC Paul Donnell. He started to investigate the disappearance of Carole.
The various stories that we were told during the investigation, we did some excavations in graves. One of the areas that we did look at, which we believed had a lot of credibility to it, was the New Forest. There was areas out there, storm drains and everything. If he had dismembered her and scattered her remains into different areas in there, then they wouldn't be found, because those are the sort of areas where the general public don't actually go. And after this period of time, obviously, the remains are going to be very, very minimal. It's either that, or he's disposed of her by burning what he could, and then the remains have been removed after that.
So, disposal of the body by cutting her up, potentially burning the body. I think both of those have got to be really strong possibilities, because it just gets rid of the remains have gone. You know, there's nothing to be found.
He had to do something with the body quickly because he still had Sam in the house.
I'm convinced that Carole Packman was murdered. But what is the truth that lies behind her killing? As the investigation continues, we collect more evidence.
Is that the same signature in 1990?
No.
What do you think?
Alarm bells.
I get an insight into Russell's past.
We found a lot of pornographic literature, also a photograph of him dressed up as a baby.
Weird.
The court cases unfold.
You know, it's a huge thing to have to go into a witness box.
More theories on how Carole was disposed of.
He had got two men to take her body to a cemetery.
We test what was possible.
Destruction of the body is almost complete.
And we examine a letter and make some shocking claims.
This is a full confession, isn't it?
It's full confession.